The 1.21 crafter is finally available in the main game, so I'm going to show you a full tutorial on how to craft the crafters with an automatic crafter farm. I divided this video into modules so that you can build it piece by piece, and so these are the different materials that you will need for the different parts of the farm. This is for the base crafter that actually crafts the thing. These are for the iron splitter to divide up the iron from the iron farm. This is for the iron farm. These are for the crafting table crafter. This is the redstone splitter that divides the redstone. This is a mob farm and redstone sorters. This is for the cobblestone generator. This is for the TNT duper and clock. And this is for the dropper crafter and how to connect it up. I know that it's a lot, and it will be a long video, so save it and come back later, and I will also divide it up into parts to make it easier. So the first thing, let's make the crafter module. This thing is actually pretty easy. You just place a crafter and chest in front, and then have 9 hoppers going in behind it, with a dropper going behind every single one. Then coming out of those, have a comparator coming out of the back, and make sure each of those go into a solid block with redstone torches coming out of the backs like this. You will dig down one below each of the torches, and then place redstone on each of the blocks below the torches, and then dig down another step to place even more redstone on each of them diagonally, and then dig down another step and place repeaters leading into the solid blocks, and each of those should be 2 blocks below each of the droppers. And then underneath the droppers, replace those blocks with redstone torches, and you'll get something that looks like this. Now whenever all 9 droppers have an item in it, it will dispense all of them to be able to go into the crafter in that particular order. Now the farms going into the droppers need to be in the order that they will be placed into the crafter. The first 4 will be iron, and then a crafting table, and then iron again, and then redstone, and then a dropper, and then finally redstone. So I just went ahead and labeled them like this, and now to actually craft it, you'll take a comparator in subtraction mode and place it off the crafter and face it going into a solid block, and place another one going into the first comparator with a full composter behind it. On the solid block, place a sticky piston with a redstone block on top, and test it by placing one of each item into the droppers and see if it crafts it. If you have issues with the order, adjust the furthest 4 repeaters underneath to 4 ticks. Next up is to work on the iron splitter. And you want to do this before the iron farm because it is pretty annoying. And I spent a lot of time in design working on this because splitting iron 5 ways is a lot more difficult than it seems. And I got one design to work with rails and sticky pistons and a randomizer, but it was really too much, so instead I did the following. Above each iron hopper, I placed a chest on top, and then I placed another layer of hoppers, and then another layer of chests, and then one more layer of hoppers, with a hopper in the space going down into the lone one over here, and then place stones on either side diagonally like this, with powered rails all throughout the middle, with a redstone block off the side to power them up, and then have a hopper minecart going back and forth to collect everything. I do like to add an extra rail over here as well to make sure that this hopper occasionally gets more iron, and then place double chests above each of the 6 rails, with 4 hoppers going across the middle looking like this, 2 more double chests above those, 2 hoppers in the middle above those, another double chest, and a hopper above that. Out the back here, make an upside down T-shape with a redstone block on the second highest hopper, with 2 more on the left sides of the hoppers below those 2, and then connect them with an L of slime through the middle like this, and then place a sticky piston at slime level. And behind that, have opposite facing observers leading to a 3-tick repeater that lets the piston push it back and forth between all of the hoppers like this. When you throw iron in there, you should see that it distributes unevenly between the chests, but it's good enough because it gets in all 5. And then above the top hopper, place a hopper minecart on the rail for testing. After this, we get to the actual iron farm itself. At the top hopper, you will go up at least 8 blocks from the lowest spawnable surface. So we will go chest, hopper, chest, hopper, chest, hopper, with a rail and hopper minecart and blocks on top of them. And then we will make a big 7x7 platform from that top block. And that top block will be one diagonally from the corner of the entire thing. So not the very farthest corner, but the block just inside of it. And then on the edges of this platform, you will place walls going up at least 6. And if this is the block of the hopper minecart, in the opposite corner, place a bucket of water so that it flows to the corner of the hopper minecart underneath. And then a couple blocks above, place signs above the minecart corner, and in the middle of all of them, place lava. These signs will not burn because signs don't burn, and the iron golems will be pushed toward the lava to drop the iron. Now that we have that, we need a sorting system to sort the iron from the poppies. So underneath the minecart hopper, place a hopper facing one direction leading to a chest, and another hopper facing the opposite direction, and another hopper facing the first direction leading to a chest. Then at that level, you will place 2 blocks blocks sideways, a block diagonal from that, and another one down, and then place blocks going back to the first to make an incomplete looking square like this. Place a comparator on top coming from the hopper with redstone going down to the second level down, and then the little space in between place a repeater and a redstone torch on the other side of the block. Under the bottom chest, place alternating hoppers and chests until it reaches the iron splitter at the bottom. Now in the hopper next to the top chest, you'll place 19 iron ingots and then 4 junk blocks in the other slots. Now off the side of the iron farm unaliving chamber, you will make a 3x4 platform and place 5 beds on it like this, and place slabs where there are no beds, surround it all with blocks, get 5 villagers in there, and cover the top with bottom slabs. Optionally, you can add a zombie, but that is not necessary. The iron golems will spawn, the iron will split, and you're basically half done with the farm already. Next up is another easy module of the farm, the crafting table crafter. All you gotta do for this one is place a hopper and chest on the dropper, with another hopper and chest leading into them from the back, make an L of blocks behind it like this, and have a crafter lead into the chest. Then have another crafter leading into that crafter from the side, and one last crafter leading into that one from the side, with a hopper leading into it like this, forming a square. Now off the side of each of the crafters, you will place a block like this, and you will have comparators coming out of the crafters just like this, and then have each of those lead into a solid block. On each of those, place a sticky piston, of which you will place a redstone block on each of the faces. Switch each of those comparators into subtraction mode, and now going into each of the comparators, place another comparator, and behind those place full composters. The crafter that has the hopper leading into it will have no blocks blocked off, the middle crafter in the chain will have all but 1 blocked off, and then the crafter next to the chest will have all but 4 blocked off. The first will craft bamboo into wood, the second will turn that into planks, the third will craft the crafting table, and above the hopper place a chest with a line of 7 hoppers leading into it, and place mud on top of each of those, and plant bamboo on top of each of those. 2 above the bamboo, behind them place observers leading outwards, with pistons underneath them facing inward so that they can break the bamboo, and place stone behind the pistons with redstone on top of those. And then block it all in with solid blocks and glass. If you build it too close to the slime blocks like I did, place immovable blocks like glazed terracotta wherever the slime touches, and replace some of the glass with glowstone so you get lighting. The next module up, we have the redstone splitter, which isn't too bad. Just place hoppers and chests on top of the redstone droppers, and then have hoppers leading back 3, and connect them with a middle hopper like this, and place a double chest on top, so half of it goes one direction, half of it goes the other, and then place a redstone block behind one of the hoppers with a sticky piston off the side like this, and place a 3-tick repeater going into the piston with opposite facing observers behind it, so that it divides the redstone between the chests, and then get a hopper on top. After that, we will build the mob farm and redstone sorter. Realistically, you would want a witch farm, but you can't really do that on a super flat, and I was not about to switch worlds and rebuild the entire thing, so here is the next best thing. On top of the hopper, you will place a chest with a hopper going into it, and above place a hopper going in the opposite direction, and another going in the opposite direction from that. This will be the trash right here, so you can replace it with a dispenser in lava. At the lower chest height though, place a solid block and then another diagonally down 1, and then below that have 3 more going back, and then finally 1 more up. Place a redstone torch off the side, with a repeater in the middle facing the torch block, with a redstone on these blocks, and then a comparator facing into them from the hopper. Inside the hopper facing the comparator, place 19 redstone, and then 4 junk blocks in the other slots, and off the top hopper, place 2 more hoppers going into it, and 1 more hopper going off in its own direction, and then have it go sideways 4 blocks leading into a chest, and below the last hopper have 1 hopper going in one direction, and another hopper going in another direction into a chest, and off the bottom hopper build out 2, another 1 diagonal downward, another 3 back, and 1 up for an incomplete square again. Place the comparator up here, 2 more redstone, a repeater going back facing this block, and then a torch on the other side of it. And in the comparator facing hopper, place 19 redstone and 4 junk blocks. This will siphon off a little redstone in the bottom chest over here to use in the dropper farm. From the original 4 central hoppers that you had, build up 31 blocks into the air. I accidentally did 24 and I had to fix it later, but make sure it's at least 31. Then off of each of the sides, build over 8, so 8 over this way, and then again over here, and then on the 3rd side, and then finally on the 4th side. And then surrounding each of those arms, you are going to build up 2 to make walls surrounding each of them, so that it will look like this. And then once you have done that, place open trapdoors in each of the long holes like this, and mobs will think that they are solid blocks and walk right over. And then at the top of those edges, you will fill in all of the corners for every block so that it looks like a giant square like this. And in each of the bottom of the holes, you will place water at the ends so that they will all flow towards the center. After that, you will place carpets on each of the inner squares, 9 per square, starting at the inner corners and making a grid going out by 2 in every direction so that it looks like this. Then you want to give it a 2 high ceiling so that only 2 tall mobs will spawn, and then spawn proof the top roof with torches. Alright, we have 8/9 of this farm completed, and a very simple but also very frustrating module is coming next. That is the dropper farm. So first we need to create a cobblestone generator. I'm going to make this base out of obsidian because there will be a TNT duper later. You don't really need obsidian, but I did it to be safe. So you will make an 8x8 platform of obsidian, and you'll make it too deep for reasons you'll see in a moment, and add walls and water to one of the ends like this. On the top of the back walls of obsidian, place pistons all along the top, and then have repeaters leading into each individual one with redstone behind each one. Under in front of the very last piston, you will place a redstone torch with a comparator coming out diagonally to it, throw that comparator into subtraction mode, and then lead that to redstone coming back into it, as well as leading the repeaters behind the pistons. 12 away from the comparator on the other side. Place a piston with water flowing into a hole next to it, and lava going to flow into that water to make a cobblestone generator, and then place opposite facing observers leading into the pistons. So now it will start to generate and push out cobblestone. Now that we have that generator, we need a TNT duper to farm the cobblestone. And so 15 blocks above this monstrosity, place an L of slime blocks with another L of slime blocks right beside the top, with a wall on the inside here with TNT below and a coral fan right beside it, and then place a detector rail on top with a minecart on that, and then get a sticky piston behind the top L with a lever on it, and then flick it to prime it, and flick it again so it dupes the TNT. After the TNT duper, we need a clock. So instead of the lever, have a 2-tick repeater leading into the piston with an observer behind it, and place a redstone block behind that, with sticky pistons facing either side of it, one of them being 1 block away and the other touching it. And next to that, have hoppers that lead into each other, and have 2 blocks off either side of those, and place comparators coming out with redstone past that, and target blocks next to the pistons. Now place a stack of 64 of any item into one of the hoppers, and now you are good to go. And now for the most tedious but the final part, the dropper crafter. We need to distribute our cobblestone relatively evenly to 7 different hoppers, so expand this bottom part out 1, and place powered rails along the inner sides here, powered by redstone blocks on the ends, and then place 7 hoppers leading to 7 chests in front of all of them. And then have regular rails going from the powered rails across the hoppers, with a hopper minecart on top that will pick up all of the stone and drop it into each hopper somewhat evenly. Then to work on the actual dropper crafter itself, off the side we will have 8 droppers with a line of hoppers in front leading to a crafter at the very end. Again, I labeled them for ease. The first 6 closest to the crafter will be cobblestone, and then we'll have a redstone one, and then 1 final cobblestone one. On the back of each dropper, you will place comparators, and lead each of those into stone, and place redstone torches on the backs of each of those. Dig down 1 underneath the torches, and then another layer down diagonally from that underneath the blocks, and then 1 more underneath diagonal from that, 2 underneath the droppers. Just like you did in the crafter module, you will replace each block underneath the droppers with a redstone torch, and then you'll have repeaters leading to all of the blocks with redstone torches, and then place redstone dust on each of the blocks, under and diagonal from each of the torches coming out of the comparator blocks like this. Off the crafter, place a comparator facing a block in subtraction mode, with another going into it, and behind that one have a full composter. Off the top of the block, have a sticky piston and redstone block in front, and now on top of each of the droppers, place hoppers and chests, and lead hoppers from every cobblestone chest from the cobblestone farm to each cobblestone chest in the crafter. And if you're like me and built them on different levels, still lead the hoppers from chest to chest, but instead of the chests from the cobblestone farm, place droppers leading up to the hoppers that you need them to get to, with observers leading into the middle of the droppers, with pistons on the ground facing upwards behind them, and have repeaters leading into each of them alternating between 1 and 2 ticks. And then have a line of redstone behind them, with opposite observers leading into it. And now from the extra redstone chest that we have from the previous module, lead hoppers from that into the redstone dropper, and to make sure that it doesn't get clogged up, instead of leading directly to it, place a dropper above where it will enter and surround it with glass down here. Then place a redstone block block next to it with a sticky piston on either side, making sure one is touching the block and the other is one away, and next to it have hoppers leading into each other, with 2 blocks on both sides with comparators and redstone coming out, and target blocks next to each of the pistons. And place 32 items in one of the hoppers. This should create a clock that only lets in 1 redstone at a time, so it doesn't mess up the crafter. Then block off the middle of the crafter so that it crafts a dropper, and on top of the dropper for the first modules farm, place a hopper, chest, and hopper, and have droppers leading from the dropper crafter to the same level lengthwise where it's at. Have those hoppers lead to a dropper that is surrounded entirely with glass, including the middle column where the dropper will dispense, and have it go to the same Y level where the hopper is at. Then have water flow from the top of that to the hopper, and place opposite facing observers leading to the dropper at the bottom here. It'll throw a dropper into the glass, that will float up the glass, be thrown into the water, which will drop into the dropper, and now your farm is complete. The iron farm takes care of the iron, the bamboo crafts wood and planks and then crafting tables. There's a mob farm and redstone sorter for the redstone and droppers, and then a cobblestone farm and a big crafter for the rest of the droppers as well. And then this module goes and takes it all and actually crafts the crafters. This has taken about a day of my life to figure out and then film and edit it all, so drop me a follow for more ridiculous redstone. I applaud you if you made it this far, and like and follow for more builds.